Hello, welcome everyone. It's so good to see you all back. First of all, for people that didn't attend the previous session, I need to say that Richmond is located on the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people. So we are guests and we are guests in these lands. And for this, we give thanks. We also give thanks to the Richmond Nature Park for organizing this, to Angela and everyone there, and also to the Richmond News because they promoted this special event with our community because we're celebrating International Flower Day. And this is very exciting. I have my sharpener, I have my eraser, a 2B graphite pencil or any graphite pencil. I just like the 2B because it's a little bit softer. And then I have the non-photo blue pencil, but any light blue would do because I like to start sketching basic shapes and then jump into the final drawing. So everyone, welcome again. I am so excited to be with you on this foggy Saturday, mysteriously foggy Saturday with you. We're going to draw an incredible plant that you might have seen already because it's one of the plants that starts flowering in very early spring. It's not even spring, it's still winter. It's the crocus. So the first thing, this plant, you can either put your page like I did, your paper. I think this will work better than in the previous session because this flower is not that tall. So the first thing I'm going to do that I didn't do last time is I'm going to decide where is my surface. I think my surface might be something here. So everything that is on top is going to be flower and everything underneath is going to be under the surface. So just be mindful of that. We're going to start drawing a circle. And because all these plants that survive the winter and flower after, they're all coming from something called bulb. And you might have seen light bulbs around the house, but this is another type of bulb, is a plant bulb. And you might have seen them in the stores where they sell tulips, tulip bulbs, or daffodils. Well, they all come from these bulbs. And in this case, this bulb is, I'm going to draw a circle. It has a very flat bottom. So you can make your circle with a very flat bottom, and it has a very pointy end. So I'm just going to make a little pointy end there. So it's like almost like a drop that just did on the surface. We started with a circle. And then we are going to draw a little bit. If you went to the previous session, it's very similar at first, but things get interestingly different as we go. We're going to draw a tiny rectangle, but the rectangle is going to open a little bit as we go up. So it's a very interesting looking rectangle. Rectangle has 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines. But if you want to make it a triangle, you can. I see that one of the comments is the colors of crocuses. Crocuses are so interesting. You can see them yellow, white, purple, lilac. I'll show you some photos after we're done because they're very pretty. Thank you for that. My crocuses in my drawing is going to have 3 flowers. 1 is going to be in a bud and 2 are going to be open. And that's something that you can choose. You can choose how many flowers you would like. For this purpose, I'm going to draw 3 circles for each flower. I want my bud to be there, and I'm going to press a little bit harder so you can see, but you don't have to. And you can choose where you want your flowers to be. So this is totally up to you. I'm going to have my 3 flowers because That's a difference compared to the previous one. If you went here, if you came here, but there's no drop, it was one flower per bulb. It was just one. But here in the case of the crocus, which by the way, I should write, because I didn't know how to spell crocus before I started these. So just in case, crocus, I'm going to do something I always do at the end, but just in case, because it's it's complicated word. It was for me. Crocus. There we go. So I'm going to have in mind 3. You can have 2. You will see how there are more than one per bulb. After you know where your flower is going to be, we're going to just make a curvy line joining the end of this part to the flower. So I'm going to make a curvy line, linking that. And then this one, how am I going to do this? This one, I want to make a little S. I just don't want to make a straight line because in nature, things are always curvy and very organic. That's so I want to avoid using straight lines. That's more like if I had printed it with a or build it with Lego, things would have a lot of round hard edges. So once you have these round lines, we are going to start drawing all the parts that come from the bulb. And if you were in the previous session, you notice that this is a very similar part, but it's called something different. And it has also very different shape at the end. Mine is going to end around here, and you're going to see how I'm doing like a tiny triangle that ends covering the whole thing. And I made it a little bit, the triangle on the side, to make it a little bit more interesting. This is called a tunic. And I don't know if this word exists in English, but I know for sure that in some languages, like in Spanish, tunica is also a kind of garment that you put over you it's like a cape. So if there is such word also in English, I am very happy. So tunic, that is, and look, it's also covering that. So yeah, it's very interesting. It has a tunic. And then we have from the tunic, tiny tunics. So one per flower. So I'm going to make another triangle and follow that. Another triangle. One, if you have 2, you will have 2 mini tunics. And if you have, like I do, 3, you will have 3 mini tunics. And they all come from the big tunic that I drew. Yeah, you're all commenting. Thank you. I'm the only one that can read the chat for questions, and you have very good observations that if we make straight lines, it would look very unnatural. And when we do round lines, it looks very organic and natural. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Thank you for that. So there we go. It's like, does it look like 3 color pencils that that we curve? Isn't that funny? It looks like 3 color pencils that each and one of them is going to lead to a stem. Only if only they were made of plasticine, that we could bend them. But that's, I don't know, that's what reminds it. It reminds me of that. So more things. So from each of these little tunics, we're going to have different things, 2 things. One is the stem with the flower, and the other one, the leaves. And that's very different from the one that we saw before. So for the leaves, I'm just going to do for now 1 line, maybe 2 lines. Usually, I have been reading about this. There's no limit, and they are at a different, some are longer, some are shorter, so that you can use your imagination to draw as many lines for the leaves as you would like. I think for this one that is going to be a bud, I'm going to make them a little bit longer. I'm going to make 3. So that's pretty much our blueprint for this plant. We're going to leave the flowers for the end, and I'm going to switch to my graphite pencil, and I'm going to start adding a little bit of detail. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over the tunic, and as you can see, it goes a little bit over the mini tunics, and then the tunic comes from the bulb. So I'm going to draw a little bit of a tiny opening, so it looks like it's coming from the bulb. It's like it has like a tiny mouth or like a beak, like the thing that we did in the previous session. So it kind of comes out of it, because it's only going to come out when the temperature is not absolutely frozen dead, like in the hard months of the winter. But in January, when it starts getting warmer, this bulb is going to start producing the tunic and is going to let all these flowers bloom. And then this bulb is interesting because it's going to have these, as I said before, like a tear drop that suddenly got smashed on the ground, like, and it has this like flat surface at the bottom. So I'm going to make a flat surface by adding a circle here, almost like a semicircle. So it looks like we can see a little bit underneath. And then it has all these roots that are crazy, crazy, crazy. And we did so many in the previous session. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do, crazy line, crazy, crazy line. But they don't come from all the pieces of the bulb. They come from underneath. Crazy, crazy. And then I'm just going to follow that line with the graphite and then do the parallel. And I'm not going to do like, or maybe I might need to erase a little bit so I can see how they come from underneath. There we go. So now we see how they come from there. I don't know if I'm going to do all of them, but guess what? After this session, you can go back and draw as many roots as you would like, because it's so much fun. You can even draw a root that goes and goes on top of another one and underneath using your eraser. Like, for example, if I use the blue and I want to do something like this, I can come here. And now that root goes underneath these other 2 roots. And that's super fun because they're overlapping. If you put your fingers like this, you would only see a little piece at the end and a little piece here, and this would be on top. So yeah, you can totally explore and have a lot of fun even after we are done. There we go. So that's going to be for me the roots I'm going to make, and probably I'll go later with brown and do other ones. And then don't forget to add that little line. So yeah, there we go. So they all come from that. This shape of this bulb is called globose. And that means that it's a round, but with a flattened bottom. So it's round shape with flattened, that has 2 T's, flattened bottom. And many things that you might find might have that shape, like a bell, for example, a cow bell that has ding, 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 that has the same globose shape. So there are a lot of things that might have that shape that you can see around. And this bulb has a name because it's very specific. It's called a corm. C-O-R-M. And it's, all the roots come from there, and it will produce baby corms. and they will spread out, and that's how this plant is going to spread out by producing baby corms that spread out under the surface. Let's do the other tunics. And I also see on the reference that I have found that these other tunics, they are kind of joined. They don't continue, they're not broken, they're kind of joined at the top. And they have a lot of texture. And that's something I'm going to have a lot of fun when we go with our colors. Because if I create now the lines, they might get, we have a question. Yes, it's like corn, like the corn, like popcorn, but with an M. I know, isn't that crazy? You're absolutely right. All these words are so interesting. So yeah, it's called a corm. I know, it's super interesting. So thank you for that. So yeah, we're gonna have fun adding texture after. And then let's have some fun first. I'm gonna add, let's have some fun with the leaves. And the leaves are very thin, very thin. They're thinner, definitely at the end. They're a little bit thicker, but they are definitely not like leaves that we are used to in the trees. These are a different type of leaves. They actually look, you know what? They look like a sword, because they also have a line in the middle. So yeah, they're going to be a little bit thicker in the middle and much thinner at the end. And then I'm going to do that one as well. And I made them in different lengths because I saw in references and in nature how some are taller and some are smaller. So yeah, that's so cool. Let's have some fun with our flowers, because you know what? I know we're all waiting for that. and guess what? They have 6 petals, so we have to make sure that we have 6 petals. And because we're seeing them from the side, we might not see all of them, but we are going to tilt our flower a little bit so we can see all our petals. And because I have 2 flowers, I'm going to draw them differently. And you can choose which one you want for your flower if you have one, or you can copy both flowers. That's up to you. I'm going to start with this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 ovals that look like eyes. 1 and 2. And an oval is just a circle that we have stretched. And the only difference with this oval is that it has pointy ends. So 1 here and 1 here. And you can make them a little bit bigger if you want. I'm just making them as big as the circle that I drew, but you know what? If we're going to do this together, let's do them a little bit bigger so you can also see them better, because I want you to make sure. I want to make sure you can see them well. There we go. So we have our 2 ovals with pointy ends. Then we're going to draw 2 other ovals. And we have X-ray vision, like we can see through. So I'm going to see them, 1 here and 1 here. So I'm just copying this right there. And because I have Superman X-ray vision, I can draw them very lightly. So because as you can imagine, when we go with the graphite, we're not going to draw this part here. This is kind of behind, but we have to make sure that it's easier if I draw the whole shape. That's what I have noticed. And then we have 2 more petals left, and that's going to be on the side. And this one here is going to be here. 1 and 2. And this is one way of drawing it. This is just one way. I'm going to draw another way here that actually might be a little bit easier. I'm going to start with one petal in the middle. I'm going to turn my page so you can see it better. There we go. I'm going to start with one in front. Instead of starting with two, I'm going to start with one. And then I'm going to make his two best friends, one on each side, 1 and 2. And then we just need to draw these on top. So we have another one in the middle, and then the two friends on the side. So I can do these as many times as you want me to do. I think this is easier. I'm going to repeat it here so everyone can see it again. So we had our circle for where you want your flower to be. And you have your first petal that is an oval with pointy ends. And then it has two friends on each side. One petal here and one petal here. They're all best friends. And they're going to meet another group of best friends. They're right on top of them. One here, one here, and one here. And now we have our flower. And now the fun part is to draw it with the graphite, because the things that are on top are going to have the lines, right? So this petal here, we're going to see the lines. This petal here, we're also going to see his line. But the ones on the back, we are only going to see the lines until the petal is in front of them. And this one, just make sure that we continue that line a little bit here. 1 and 2. And suddenly we have our amazing crocus flower. So I'm just going to do that here. I'm going to, I don't want to cover that, because if you need it as a reference, I'm just going to, if you did this flower, this was the first petal, the second petal, and then we had the other friends that were in the back, 1 and 2. And then the other friend that was a little bit on the side, 3 and 4. And the reason why I'm leaving a little bit of space there is because a lot of awesome things are going to happen there. And we might need to use the eraser a little bit, but that's a lot of fun there. I'm going to put this other one here. The reason why I have these two types of drawing flowers is because one, it let us see a little bit better what's inside than the other one. And that's why botanical illustrators, they take the flower and they remove the petals. And if we were to remove the petal here, we would see what's underneath. I don't have the flower here. So we are going to pretend that we remove that petal because there's so many awesome things happening underneath, and we can see it here better. So this flower, if I was to remove that petal, bloop, we are going to see that it has a very, very, very thin structure that divides in 3. And each branch, which, I don't know, it looks like an alien to me that has 3 eyes. Something like this. This structure is going to be called the stigma. So if we remove one of the petals, we're going to see this. And we're also going to see 3 structures that look like a racket, like a tennis racket. 1, 2, and 1 in the back. 3. But this is, I'm going to move my sword a little bit to here, because I have to make sure that I note that this is a zoom. We have zoomed in because this is very tiny. Here we would only see 1, 2, 3, and then we can barely see these other structures that look like a tennis racket that are called the stamen. And this is a very important part of this plant, the stigma, and it's going to be very red. And it's so red that I cannot help it. I need to add color right now. It's super red, super red. And the reason why this is so important is because there's a species of Crocus that this stigma that is so red is, and you're going to know the word, is the saffron. That's where the saffron comes from. So there's a species of Crocus that is called Crocus sativa, and the stigma is what produces the saffron. And saffron, it's not only used for as a spice, because the saffron is what, if you have eaten or you know what a paella is a dish that has very yellow rice, and the yellow comes from adding saffron. It's the spice that gives that color and also gives a flavor. But also not only the uses are for food, but also, guess what? They have been using saffron also to dye clothing, and also in cave art, they have used it as a pigment to paint with. So this saffron has been used from time immemorial for all sorts of interesting things, and it's very expensive. It has to be collected manually, and it's very expensive and delicate. So yeah, it's a very, very very interesting thing I read about the crocus, not the crocus that we see around Vancouver. The one that produces saffron mostly is most of the production is in Iran. But yeah, isn't that interesting? Like those 3 tiny filaments, that stigma, it's very, very precious. Let's continue drawing. The amazing thing also about this flower is that the petals continue forming the stem, and they get hidden behind those leaves. And I'm going to do the exact same thing here, following my blue, and maybe this stem comes up to here, and this one comes up to here. And I'm going to draw the leaves behind this stem, knowing that they're a little bit thicker, and then they thin. This actually might need a little bit of correction because it became very thin. There we go. And don't be afraid of using your eraser. Oh my, it's our best, one of our best friends. Everyone uses erasers. If they say they don't, they are not telling the truth. So these are at least my 2 flowers. The other one that I wanted to do was just a bud. And to do the bud, I'm just going to make an oval, because those are the petals that are all closed and they're not ready yet. And they're still coming from here, but they're not ready yet. They're waiting. They're like, they're like, hey guys, how does it look like? Is it a nice temperature out there? I'm not sure if I want to go out yet. And the other ones are like, oh, come on, Brian, you have to come out too. So that's the bud. And it has also, I don't know why I called my flower Brian, but you can call them any name that you wish. Okay, so it's thin here and then a little bit thicker. And I really like overlapping and making sure that some things are behind, some things are in front. And I know that maybe you chose 2 flowers. Well, that's perfect as well. So remember, the end is a little bit thinner, and then it thickens a little bit. There you go. And one thing that is very important about these leaves is that they have, I'm going to do that with color, they have a stripe in the middle. And I'm going to put here that the leaves look like a sword. So this is, do we need one not grown flower? I'm not sure that, I don't know what you mean exactly. You can draw as many as you want. I'm just drawing 3 because I wanted to show you how to draw them in different ways. But you can choose. What I'm going to make sure is that I add a little bit of surface here. Thank you for your question. A little bit of surface, so we know that this is under the surface and this is on top. And I'm going to draw the sun. Here is winter, but there's a little bit of light. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad I was able to answer your question. Where are we going to find these amazing crocus? All over the world. All over the world. They are everywhere. As long as we have meadows, and as long as we have forests and mountain peaks, everywhere. And they can be, this part here could be up to between 8, 12 inches. And guess what? These petals is very important. They're covered in some sort of like a waxy coating that is called a cuticle. Cuticule, it has a C there and I forgot, cuticule. So this waxy cuticle is frost resistant. What? So that's why they're able to come through the snow and be the first, one of the first flowers that we see in the spring. And as we said before, all the nutrients from the soil come through the roots into the bulb that is called the corm, and they get storage there. They get all their waiting, accumulating, and that's what it allows these crocus to come out and be one of the very, very first, because it has all the nutrients that it needs there. And guess what? The bees and butterflies are going to be so happy. Happy. You have no idea how happy they are, because they can come after a very rough winter and get all their nectar from the stamen. All the nectar is there. The pollen is here. It's all here. And by doing that, they are pollinating the flower, which is very nice. But guess what? Chun, chun, chun. As we add some color, I'm going to start with some green, and I'm going to go very light at first. Guess what happens to this plant? Chun, chun, chun. Well, imagine how yummy this is with all the nutrients under the soil. And this is not poisonous. So guess what happens? Oh my goodness. Squirrels. And oh, actually, you know what? The stem of the flower is not green. Sorry, I made a mistake. But we can fix it. It's more whitish. We can fix it. So we're only going to color the leaves while I tell you this. I was totally distracted talking about squirrels. So squirrels are very cute. but they eat a lot of bulbs. And if they find these of the winter, that's going to be it. Squirrels and chipmunks and also worms, they might eat the bulb. So that's going to be it. Yeah. Also, the top is yummy. Like, I bet, I'm going to write that down. So the rodents, squirrels, worms, also mildew is some sort of is a fungus. It creates with humidity, so it can also destroy the corn. A chipmunk, they are all going to eat it. And I'm going to draw a bulb that has been chewed by a squirrel right there. Oh no. But guess what? The surface is also very yummy. Imagine you're a deer or a rabbit, and you've been all winter waiting for something green and nice to come out. Well, you're going to eat that. So they eat that a lot. I'm going to do a little bit of darker green where the leaves end. And remember what we said, that they had a stripe in the middle? I'm going to do it with this green. Yay, that's nice. I'd rather draw with the banana slugs. Oh, well, if I was a banana slug, I would totally eat it, but I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. So thank you for that question. And I would have to read about that. But for sure, a deer or a rabbit. Rabbits are so cute, but they eat so much. I can tell you that all my flowers got eaten by rabbits. But they were so cute that I couldn't get angry at them. They were looking at me with those big eyes and those long ears. There we go. So I'm just making that stripe and also adding a little bit of pressure near the tunics, and maybe a little bit darker on one side, but not too much. So I created, because the sun is here, so I want to create a little bit of shadow. And the same thing here. There we go. And also, oh my, I was reading also, I don't want to get distracted, but I was also reading that they can be of many, many colors. So that is something that you will have to decide what color you want your crocus to be. Because they can be lilac, they can be white, they can be purple. This leaf needs to continue around here. They can be even with stripes. So you will have to make an executive decision and be like, I would like mine to be. So those are my leaves. And I really, oh, wow. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yellow as well. And I'm going to show you, because I have some photos that I took very nearby, actually, around Vancouver. So I'm going to show you very briefly some photos of crocuses. Maybe it gets you some inspiration for colors. I took them from the top. So these are purple, and they have stripes of purple. Isn't that beautiful? And then let's see. These are from the side, and these are white, yellow, purple. Let's see, what other things? Oh, look at that. That's a very nice purple. And look how orangey and red the inside is. But these are not the Crocus sativa. This doesn't have the long stigma. This has stigma, but it's shorter. In the Crocus sativa, the stigma comes out. Let's see. Let's see. These have also stripes, like a very nice purpley stripes, and this keeps turning. And let's see. Oh, look at this. This has very long petals, and as they come close to the middle, they become yellowy, and as they go to the very end, they become purpley. I like this one. I think I'm going to use this as a reference. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, there's so many options, and I think I am going to use, if you don't have a purple, let's pretend that I don't have a purple. You can make it with blue and with red. And I'm going to show you an example. If I put blue and then press a little bit lighter and then go with my red and press a little bit lighter. I don't like this purple. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try a different red. That was not a good enough purple for me. Let's see this one. Oh, yes, I found it. So you can try different reds. That is a nice purple, in my opinion. In the computer, it looks brown. Yeah, exactly. That was a very bad mix. I think it was because, yeah, I don't know why this red and this blue gave me that brown color. But I think this red is much better for mixing the purple. You're absolutely right. I was also like, what? So I'm going to start by adding a little bit of blue on the tips, because that's where I saw where the most purple was. You're absolutely right. And if you have a purple, you can go ahead directly with the purple. And purple, purple, purple. I'm going to make it with this blue and this red. And that's why I like trying colors. Are all the flowers purple? No, because look, if I show you again the photos that I took, some are white and some are, look at how white. Whoa, that is super pretty. Let's see if it turns. There we go. Let's see. That's purple. Yeah, I know, right? It's so pretty, so pretty. So as you can see, there's so many ideas, but mostly on the range of blue, purple, yellow, or a combination of all of them. So you're absolutely right. Thank you for your question. So I'm going to add now that red that made my pretty purple, not the ugly, not the one that made that, well, it's not ugly. It's just for another occasion. There we go. So now we have that nice purple in my petal. So you can, again, you can color. I'm going to hold my pencil like this. So I create less, create a little bit of, it's easier for me to color holding the pencil like this. But everyone has their own way of doing things. So don't worry if you want to hold it differently. You can try and see if it works for you. So that is my purple. Yeah, absolutely. You know, someone asked if they can use pink. Absolutely. If I had a pink, I would totally use a pink. Absolutely. And then we noticed that this is not green. This is actually kind of whitish. And I also noticed that because all these stamen continue, it's also a little bit yellow here. They continue, and it's a little bit yellow and orangey. And all the flowers from the same corm are going to be the same color. But because for the purpose of this class, I'm going to make one using directly purple. And I'm going to add a little bit of darker purple there, because I want to try one that has stripes. I really want to try that. So I want to add a little bit of purple. And I also want to color with stripes. Oh, nice. I like this. And I see that some stripes are shorter and some stripes are longer. And I like that. So if anyone is doing that, that's also going to look very nice. One thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of darker where the petals join here, and then a little bit of yellow as we did before. And if you didn't color the stamen green as I did, you did well. But it's okay. I forgive myself. You know what? Now it has like a very nice tone. And if you lost some of your lines, you can go back with the graphite and redraw them. So yeah, have some fun with the petals. I'm going to go and do something with the tunic, because the tunic, because it's under the soil, it's just going to be a little bit more pale. So I'm just going to go and be a little bit pale overall, just pale yellow. I might add a little bit of brown. Let's see here. We have a question. Is the one that is not red, white? Oh, this part here, I might have added a little bit too much color. So I'm just going to add, you're absolutely right. I like that you are so attentive. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Totally, you're absolutely right. Thank you. So I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow here. There we go. Thank you. We all help each other. That's incredible. Thank you so much. I'm going to add a little bit of brown here. And guess what? The tip of the tunic is a little bit darker in color. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange and just add a little bit of color to the tip of the tunic. Just a little bit. And then it has a lot of texture. So I'm going to use the same color pencil to put some lines that if I had drawn them with graphite, I don't know, it would be a little bit too dark. But because it's with color, it creates this very nice texture. And I think it looks a little bit prettier. And I'm going to use the same color to add a little bit of shadow. Even though we are underground, there's still some parts that are going to be a little bit darker. And if you were in the previous session, we had a lot of fun with the bulb, and we're going to do that again. I'm going to use a brown, and I'm going to start very lightly, and I'm going to leave an area that is not going to be colored. I'm just going to leave that white or paper, color paper, whatever this paper color is. So white. There's so many different types of whites. This is paper white. So first I'm going to use the brown very lightly. And then I'm going to use the dark, the same color is the same brown, but I'm going to press a little bit harder, and I'm going to press harder around the flat surface and on one edge. And as I said on the previous session, you can do circles or you can do lines. And what this is doing is suddenly adding so much volume to our corm. And if we press even harder, we can create a very, very dark edge. And now we can see one area that is white, one that is very light brown, and one that is very dark brown. What if we add a little bit less pressure here? Let's see what would happen. Oh, so now our dark brown, it's becoming what? This light brown. This is incredible. We made a 3D version. I'm also going to add a little bit of color to the tiny wolf that the squirrel has chewed. The same principles, a little bit of darker here and here. And a little bit lighter there. There he goes. The squirrel is happy. I am not that happy because she ate my crocus. Ah, squirrel. There we go. So now I'm going to add, if you were in the previous session, I had so much fun experimenting. I'm going to add a little bit of orange just because, and not even everywhere, just here and there, just a little bit. And then I'm going to add a little bit of, you remember the ugly red that gave me that brown? This is the moment where I want a brown like that. So I'm going to add a little bit of red. And even in the white area. Wow, I just added red. And now I'm going to add blue. And that ugly color, the ugliest color I made now is going to be super pretty here. So it wasn't that ugly after all. It was just out of place. Yay! So I made a multicolor bulb that is super duper. And if you were in the previous session also, I ended being a little bit crazy and I made some lines, thick lines, everywhere. And I didn't even think. I was just like, because now it has a lot of texture and it's a very, very rough corm that is under the soil and it has all this texture. Yeah. And I cannot forget that we are under the surface. So I'm just going to add a little bit of brown. Just a little bit. And I made so many roots. I might just either leave them as they are or just add a little bit of, just a tiny bit of color. Not too much. And see if I missed something that I want to talk about. Well, these leaves, because they have two faces, they're flat. Just so you know that the leaves are called bifacial because they have two faces. This eraser has many faces, multifacial. But if it only had two surfaces, like for example, if I take a piece of paper, this piece of paper has two faces, one and two. So the same as those leaves, they're flat. Oh, and I'm going to also color my tiny bulb here. And they're the first sign of spring. It's like, oh, crocuses are here. There's hope. There's hope. Winter is over. Winter is over. So I'm just gonna, I think it's gonna be the same family as this. So it's gonna have some of these lines here. I remove my hand in a second so you can see. And then I put the yellowy thing here. As one of you very, very wisely commented. I really thank you for that. And even though the stem is white, it needs a little bit of shadow. So I think with my brown, very, very lightly, or even, you know what? To make shadow on white, I'm going to use a blue because that's what we learned on the snow drop. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blue and a little bit of blue here. Just a little bit. And it's still white, but I need to add a little bit that shadow. And I'm just going to add a little bit of, let's see, a little bit of red here because the tips of the tunic are always a little bit darker in all the photos I've seen. They have like tiny, tiny reddish, brownish thing, just at the very, very tip. And this is under the surface. And there's a very funny name, and that might be the last thing I add here, that when the stem is underground, that has a name, and it's a very cool name. And I don't know how to pronounce it. So I'm going to make it up, the pronunciation. I think these might be acaulescent, maybe. But yeah, that's the word that means stem under the soil. I will ask a friend later how to pronounce that. There we go. I'm going to color my sun and maybe add a little bit of color to the crocus title. I really hope that you had fun today because, yeah, I'm so happy to celebrate International Flower Day in January with the crocus and with the snowdrop. I didn't know there were flowers that come out in the winter time. They're like super brave flowers. They're like superhero flowers with anti-frost and frost resistant. So they're like tiny, but they're superheroes. Come on. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put the page where I'm going to put the recordings, if not later today, tomorrow for sure. I really, really hope you had fun, and I hope you go out with your sketchbook and draw a lot of crocuses and other things. Maybe you find a squirrel eating a bulb